Hello everyone. Today we will continue following the emotional journey of the single mother, Dieu Han. She has gone through a long time of moving to the city, and during that time, her life has been filled with challenges and hardships. Dieu Han is a strong woman, but she also carries deep sadness within her heart. She left her hometown in search of a better life, and the days spent in the city have taught her many valuable lessons. Although life in the city offers many new and exciting things, Dieu Han can never forget the memories of her family, her parents, and the beloved homeland where she grew up. Even though those memories always linger in her mind, she still hasn't been able to reunite with her family. News about her parents has almost disappeared, leaving only faint traces of the days gone by. Dieu Han remains resilient and stays in the city, forming new relationships and making new friends who have supported her greatly. After a long time in the city, Dieu Han realizes that perhaps she cannot live forever in those memories. Finally, she decides to return to her hometown, where there are sweet memories and people she always holds dear. This decision is not easy at all because she knows that when she returns, the questions about her family will remain a big unanswered mystery in her heart. After saying goodbye to her close friends, those who have always been by her side all this time, Dieu Han feels a heavy heart. But she also feels a sense of relief because in the end, she has made the decision she feels is right. Tha, a friend she trusts deeply, has driven her back to Jaklak. This trip is not just a journey back to her hometown, but also a journey back to the old memories, to the loved ones she left behind. Throughout the journey, Dieu Han couldn't stop worrying about Than. She kept asking him repeatedly if he was tired, as the road was quite long and the trip was a long one. Every time she asked, she expressed her deep concern for her companion. Dieu Han was very grateful that Than had helped her, that he had gone through a long distance to take her back home, back to her hometown. Even though she knew this trip wasn't easy, she never forgot to express her gratitude to him. She thanked Than very much for coming all the way to pick her up, because she understood that this wasn't a simple task. Than is a trustworthy friend. He was worried about her, especially during the early days when she had to face difficulties, feelings of loneliness, and insecurity. He didn't want her to face dangers that she couldn't anticipate. Tanj feared that she could encounter unfortunate situations, even being harmed or kidnapped in such a large, unfamiliar city. Because of that, Tan decided to go all the way to find her and bring her back. For him, it was a decision born out of care and concern for his close friend. During the conversation, Han also didn't forget to ask about Uyen, the friend she had been very worried about. Han asked Tan, "Has Uyen gotten better?" These words were a clear expression of the true friendship Dieu Han had for Uyen. However, Tan simply replied that Thee had been taking good care of Uyen, so she would definitely recover soon. Tan reassured Han that she didn't need to worry too much about Uyen's situation anymore, because everything had already been taken care of by Thee. Even so, Dieu Han still couldn't help but worry. She is an empathetic person, always ready to share the sadness, anxiety, and worries with her friends. Although Than comforted her, in Han's heart, she still hoped Uyen would recover quickly and be healthy again like before. The two of them continued their journey back to the hometown. After a long stretch of road, Than decided to stop at an entertainment area. He wanted Han to rest for a bit, after the long ride. Han also felt tired after the long trip, so he decided to stop the vehicle and relax for a while. Han also felt the need to rest, as she had traveled quite a long distance and was feeling exhausted. Than carried Tom into the amusement park with Han, as all three of them needed a little time to relax after the long journey. The trip hadn't been easy, and taking a break was necessary. Than wanted to give Tom some time to play, while Han also needed some space to relax her body after hours of sitting in the car. The amusement park was quite large, with many fun games and exciting activities for children. Tom played joyfully and innocently with other kids, making the atmosphere much lighter. Han and Than sat down to rest, enjoying the peaceful space after the long road. Truly, all three of them needed a bit of time to unwind and recharge. After enough rest, the three of them got back in the car to continue their journey. Han and Tom felt much more comfortable after the break, and Than no longer felt as tense as before. The trip continued, and everyone hoped to reach home soon. But as night fell, Han and Tom fell into a deep sleep in the car. Both were exhausted after a long day, and sleep came naturally. Than continued driving, even though he felt quite tired. The remaining distance wasn't too far, but he also realized he needed to rest for a bit to regain his strength. So, after a while, Than decided to pull over to the side of the road to rest. He didn't want to risk continuing to drive while feeling too tired. Stopping for a moment would help him regain energy for a safer journey. Than got out of the car and stood by the roadside for a while, breathing in the fresh air, trying to ease his fatigue. He felt more refreshed after a short break, but he couldn't ignore his concern for Han and Tom. A little while later, Han woke up and realized she was alone in the car, unable to find Than. She looked around, feeling a bit anxious, not seeing him anywhere. Han immediately got out of the car, her voice carrying some worry as she asked, "Where's Than?" Than was standing not too far away and noticed that Han had woken up and gotten out of the car to find him. He quickly responded with a gentle smile to reassure her, "It's okay. My legs got a little numb after driving for so long. I just stopped to rest for a moment and we'll continue soon." Than wanted to make sure she didn't worry, as it was just a short break to continue the journey. Han was still a little concerned, but after hearing Than explain, she felt more at ease. Than continued, "Go back to Tom, or he'll probably cry when he wakes up and doesn't see you." Han smiled and quickly returned to the car so as not to wake Tom. She knew that Tom wouldn't sleep well if his mother wasn't beside him. After Han got back into the car, Than also returned and got back in the car to continue the journey. When morning came, the three of them continued their journey. Than felt tired after a long night of driving, and he decided to stop at a roadside cafe to grab a quick cup of coffee. He needed to stay awake because, even though there was only about 50 kilometers left to their destination, the trip was not over yet. Then took sips of the coffee, feeling the freshness gradually return to his body. He looked at the cup, silently thanking life for allowing him to continue the journey, despite the difficulties he had encountered. Dieuhan and Tom were still asleep, exhausted from the long trip, and Than felt a bit sorry that they couldn't rest longer. However, they still needed to continue their journey. Than got back in the car and started driving again. The scenery gradually changed, from the bustling city streets to the peaceful country roads. There was only a short distance left before they would arrive at their destination. Dieuhan woke up and looked out the window, feeling a sense of relief when she realized they were finally close to home. Finally, after a long journey, they arrived at their hometown. Thun stopped the car and helped Hun and Tom get out. He slung the bag over his shoulder and walked with the mother and son toward their home. Hun thanked Thun profusely, feeling very grateful to him for accompanying them throughout the journey. Suddenly, as they were walking near the house, Thun received an urgent call from his company. He had to turn back immediately to handle some work. Hun looked at Thun, feeling worried for him, because even though they had reached their destination, he still had to rush off. Seeing this, Han said, "You go ahead. I'll walk a bit further with Tom, and we'll be home. I'm really worried about you." Thun smiled upon hearing this and nodded, then quickly left. Hun watched him for a long while, feeling a bit of regret in her heart, but she understood that work was always Thun's priority. The three of them said their goodbyes, and Han, along with Tom, continued walking toward the familiar house she hadn't been to in a long time. The footsteps of Han and Tom echoed in the quiet space of the countryside, and she felt as if she was returning to a place that truly belonged to her. When they arrived at the house, Han opened the gate and stepped inside. She carried Tom into the house, gently placed him on the bed, and began tidying up the place. The house had been empty for a long time, so everything was a bit messy. Han quickly cleaned up a little, swept the floor, and wiped down the objects covered in dust. While cleaning, she took out an envelope that her father had left for her before they last parted. The envelope wasn't very thick, but it was all that her father had left for her. Han opened the envelope, and the familiar handwriting of her father appeared before her eyes. She read the words he had written, feeling his love through every line. A wave of emotion overwhelmed her, and Han's tears flowed uncontrollably. She felt joy, but also couldn't hold back her tears because she knew her father had been trying to find her all these years. A strange sense of happiness filled her heart, as if everything had been released, as if a new door had opened before her. When she reached the final lines, Han knew that she would not stop. The journey to find her father was not a story that had come to an end. She would continue searching, not giving up, no matter how many difficulties lay ahead. Han silently made a vow that, no matter how tough the road, she would not give up. A part of her always longed to be reunited with her father, to recover the memories that had been long forgotten. But would she succeed this time? Or would this journey end in failure like the many times before? These questions still echoed in her mind, but one thing was certain. Han would not stop searching until she found the answer.
Nghe vậy, chú im lặng hồi lâu, rồi nhìn Huyền, rồi ánh mắt trầm ngâm. Chú khẽ nói, chú tên Tư, chú có một mảnh đất nhỏ, làm nghề gì? Cũng không nói năm nay, nếu mẹ con không chê, mai chú đưa đi xem, nếu hợp, chú cho mượn để cất tặng một ngôi nhà cho đàng hoàng hơn. vọng mới. Maya ơi, có lẽ mai mẹ con mình sẽ có một mái nhà mới con ạ. Đêm ấy, dù trời mưa lất phất ngoài hiên, nhưng trong căn nhà nhỏ ấy, trái tim người mẹ đơn thân lại rực sáng hơn bao giờ hết. Một cánh cửa mới, một cơ hội mới đang chờ mẹ con cô ở phía trước.